Yeah, quick disclosure. This is the first time I'm
Oh,
meeting Kacey and Noah, but this is going to be a very fun and unique episode because unlike previous episodes, I don't have anything planned. But we have one thing in common, and that's chemistry, and that's pretty much that's what we're going off of. And fantasy
Yeah,
football. I
exactly.
actually just lost to Kacey 2 weeks ago. Maybe we actually touch on that because it's been quite a pleasure being in this league with you guys.
oh
Casey beat
God,
my
I'm so
ass like
bad
two
at
weeks
it.
ago.
I
Noah's
don't know how.
coincidentally 5-0, and he's the owner of the league. But I don't know. It's Jamar Chase is finally picking it up for myself, but other than that, I think my season's starting to turn around.
I don't know if I set my lineup. It's actually good. I don't know who I'm playing this week, actually, if we're talking about fantasy.
I'm playing.
And
I'm playing.
wait, oh,
I'm playing CJ this week. Yeah, the fantasy football thing. I think I had too much coffee that day, and I was like, when you have like a little too much, and you're like, I'm gonna get everything done, and then I'm gonna like invent new things to get done. So it's like, fantasy season's coming around, and I really want to enjoy it with people, but I can't. I just want to do another draft. Like I just love drafting.
yeah, it's got to
And
get
so
done.
I tweeted out like, anyone want to do like a 10-man? And a bunch of people replied, so I made a group chat, and it's been pretty lively. No real lurkers in the league, I would say,
Yeah,
but it's
Yeah,
nice to be in a position to beat everyone's ass every week. Um, and yeah, that's all I can say. I mean, it's 5-0.
I mean, I'm on year 7 of the league I hosted with like I host some other friends, and it's usually fun. It's okay, but it's hard to get people to like buy in. It feels like, and this league has actually been a lot more fun this season. It's like more competitive. More people are like not smack talking, but also like yeah, but like in a fun way.
yeah, really pushing the boundaries.
So
I mean,
yeah,
you don't want to look like a chump in front of like your chemistry peers. It's just what it boils down to. I mean, how can you
exactly,
do good? How can you
exactly.
do good chemistry if like you can't your shit at fantasy football? It's like you have no value, no credit. So
Yeah,
you can't get jacks without like a win in fantasy football. That's all I gotta say.
I
I think
think
that's in the
that's
requirements, but
true.
no, I think
That's
that's
true.
actually a good punishment for the loser of the league. The loser has to submit to Jack's Gold.
Oh God.
they
All
need
right,
to
you
write a
both can
review
go
on it.
first because y'all got money.
They write a review on
Jesus.
how their season went so wrong, like it went so bad, and how they plan on to improving next year.
And since it's
I
Uh,
I still
yeah, yeah.
I still really like the punishment of like the loser has to take the chemistry GRE.
No, that was the
I
PCAM.
think
The,
that'd
the
be a
issue with that
fantastic.
though,
Oh,
but I don't know anything about it. Like it would
Either
be so
one.
easy. I'd just sit there and do nothing. Oh, okay.
you have to give it your best shot.
I don't got a shot, man. I tell people here all the
Well,
time,
one
like,
day,
'cause I was just gonna say, like,
uh,
chemistry is like really diverse, and so like the punishment of like doing chemistry is actually extremely taxing because I don't know chemistry broadly defined. I know organic chemistry, which is very much its own pocket that is so secluded from the people overdoing theory and physical chemistry.
Oh
Like
God.
there's no connection
Oh
between what
God.
I do and the blinding lasers in the basement of the building over, despite the overall umbrella department being the same. And so it's actually extremely stressful to be in a position to lose the fantasy league and have to take some PChem, GRE, or ACS board exam.
Exactly. That's why it's a punishment.
No, it's horrible.
Perfect.
I still think Jack's Gold's a great
That's
punishment, but we can talk about that
God.
offline.
either one,
I
either
think the
one.
winner has to submit to Jack's Gold.
Yeah, it's a ten
About
thousand
how
dollar
good they are at
punishment.
fantasy. Is it that much? Wait, is it really that much? I've
I
never
don't think it's that
submitted
much to
a paper
submit.
Yeah.
before.
So
Holy
Jack's
shit!
Gold,
Oh,
Jack, the draw is that it's open access, but because it's open
Mhm.
access, you have to self fund the open access part of it, and so you can imagine
So
the
it's
spider web you have to
not really.
navigate. Yeah, it's like open access to those who can afford to pay the fee, right? And so, since we're all wealthy
Mhm.
grad students here with healthy unions and such, we can all afford the 10 grand, I think. So we'll just,
Absolutely.
that's a union.
yeah,
I'm really glad these companies. I mean, they're looking out for us. I think this is a
yeah.
good platform for them. I think it's actually a good deal from them. I think,
Mm.
clearly, especially like pharma and big oil companies, we have the money, and so I think we're gladly able to pay those fees that keep those companies going. Honestly, I mean, they do really nice work over there.
Wouldn't
Um,
anyone think of the corporations? Like, I people,
Please think of the
please think of
corpos.
them, please. Yeah, I mean, I think institutions like Sci-Hub are just really, really tearing down in a really negative way
The
the
fabric
status
of
quo we have.
Yeah.
chemistry.
It's really
I can't even find a price for how much it costs for Jack's Gold.
really.
All right, let's see. I'm looking. I'm trying to
If
find
you
it 'cause I'm
can't,
curious.
if you have to
Yeah.
ask for the price, you can't
Oh,
afford
wait.
it, dude.
I said pricing details can be found here.
Yeah. Like things like Library Genesis, Sci-Hub, I mean, they're really undermining great science, I think, honest to God.
Yeah.
Like, they really are undercutting everything that we do. You
Exactly.
know, so it's a
I
shame.
think they dropped
It's a
the
shame.
price.
They made it cheaper.
No, that's well. This says ACS Gold journals are 3,500.
That's I don't know, man. Money
That's
in
pretty
science
good.
is fake to me. Like it's
Yeah.
just like there's no bearing I have. I'm like not at that point in my career where like $3,500 sounds like a lot of money or a
A
little
deal.
amount of money because like science
Oh.
money is like monopoly money until you get to be a
I don't know,
PI, then
man.
it's like
Thir-
real, right?
$3,500 is double like almost double my monthly salary. So that's
Yes.
pretty real to me.
Same
No, but
here. Same here.
that's Kacey money. That is not lab
Yeah.
money,
Oh, that's
right?
fair.
Like $3,500
That's
is
true.
like a few
Yeah.
catalysts, like a few really nice catalysts.
Yeah.
Or it's a scale up
Yeah.
for my total synthesis route, right? Like it's just business as usual,
Yeah.
right? So maybe Jack's Gold's onto something.
Yeah. Maybe we can probably should do this first, but maybe we should introduce you guys a little bit so people get to know you guys. So I'll let you guys kind of take the reins a little bit, just to introduce yourselves. You know, what group you guys are in, what do you guys study?
Noah, you can go first.
Okay, well, all right, I'll go first. So I'm Noah, commonly known to those on Twitter as Twitter user NAOH Bartfield. Every now and then I'm Bartstool Chemistry.
I still
I'm
like that one.
vocal.
I still like that one more, but
I like that one, but the
Yeah,
issue
that's a good
was
one.
I put it as Bartstool Chemistry, and then the next day Frances Arnold visited, and then she replied to some of my tweets, and I'm like, I don't know if Frances Arnold, you know, like it's just like I
okay.
don't want her to know me as Bartstool Chemistry, because I respect her too
Yeah,
much
that's
for that.
probably.
So yeah, I go by NOH Bartfield usually. I got the cat. I'm a shill for Sigma Aldrich. I'm doing my third year of my PhD here at that small school in New Haven. Doing total synthesis
Yeah,
making
no one's heard of it.
molecules. No one's heard of it. I mean, yeah, University of California, New
Yeah.
Haven is just a small school.
Jesus
So tough, but yeah, that's where we're at. The weather's getting colder, and I'm happy to be here. Seasons are nice, so yeah. On to you, Kacey.
Oh, is it my turn? Okay. Hi, I'm Casey. No. So I'm currently a fifth year. Oh yeah, no longer a rising fourth year. I'm just straight up a fifth year. I'm at Auburn University, which is the school that no one has actually
That's
heard
not
of.
true.
Oh
Cam
my
Newton, bro.
God.
They have
The
a good.
number,
I think they have a good
yeah.
football team.
So
They
the
might
thing-
have a good football team. That's about it, though. I think.
Not this year. Not this year. No.
Oh well.
I work with Rashad Karminov here. We're one of the only organic groups left. There are now two. So we have a very thriving orgo program. And I
Hey.
do methodology mostly and some total synthesis, not NOAA level total synthesis, but I've made a molecule or two in my day.
Heck yeah.
You know the difference
He has a Jack's
between you
paper.
and me, Casey?
He has a Jack's paper.
I have a Jack's paper. Noah doesn't have a Jack's paper.
I do,
Noah.
but it's a
Oof.
different story. It's not.
God damn it! I forgot.
It was. I helped out with something. My PI was nice enough in undergrad to put me on the paper. But the difference between you and me, Casey, the difference is you've actually published natural products that you've synthesized, and I'm just banking on them. I'm just sitting on them. Like.
Oh yeah. That's my mistake is I haven't just like kept making them. I think you're on 17 or 18 now.
Nah, we're on something
like that.
but I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Case is also flexing his Aggie ring. He's also flexing the Aggie ring. I could see.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
That's
Fucking
my
Gig 'em. Let's go.
Gig 'em, baby. It's the Colt.
What is gig 'em?
How could you switch from Texas A&M to Auburn?
Auburn was the only school that said, "Hey, we'll take you."
Fair
And
enough.
I was like,
Same
"Cool,
with
let's
UH.
go."
Same with
So,
UH. Great decision, by the way.
yeah.
But same here.
Well, I mean, UH. I mean, it worked out. You know, Jack's paper got my name
Oh,
out
absolutely.
there. I'm working on some stuff now. I'm happy. So like, it all worked out. But yeah, U of H actually was one of the ones that was like, "Nah, we don't want you." And I was like, "All right."
Really? What the
Understandable.
fuck?
Have a good day,
No,
Holy
but
shit.
dude. So because
that whole process is
Yeah.
just kind of like I think it's disingenuous to call it a crapshoot, but I think the grad school application process is more. It's just like every department, every reader wants something different, and like
Yeah.
I got rejected from more schools than I got into, but like the
Yep.
the
Same.
canonical like community interpretation of which was a good school and which was not a good school, or less of a good school because there are good schools. The rankings didn't match up with where I got accepted and got rejected. It was straight up just like my vision didn't align with theirs, and that's that. And I think I was too
Yeah.
stubborn to try to play the game to get accepted into certain schools because I just if I didn't fit in, then I didn't fit in. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's okay.
They reached their white
It
male
worked out.
threshold. They reached
I
their white male
know.
threshold.
Yeah.
No.
Right.
it's
Right.
It's
okay.
unfortunate.
That's the crazy thing is like so like I understand it. Like my undergrad, I came out from A&M, had like a 2.5 overall, had like a 3.0 chem, and I was like, all right, it is what it is. Majorly depressed and all that. We're good now, fixed it, all that. But like first gen's not easy. And so like I even was applied to Texas State and Sam Houston. So for master's programs, just to be like, all right, I'll pay my way in and show that I can do it. And they were just like, wow. I was like, all right, cool. So then I came to Auburn 3 years later.
But it worked out.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
so I'm enjoying it though.
Bro, like,
Yeah,
you're
that's
like
well, that's
you're
yeah.
like one of the cast future leaders. I mean, you've held how many internships? Like you've done some really good stuff, And so
Yeah,
you,
one so far. We'll see what happens in the spring. But that's what I'm saying. Is like it's crazy. It's like I've had a great time where I'm at. So
Yeah.
I'm just like that's all that matters. Is like I've had fun. I've learned a lot, and that's all I can ask for.
What brought you guys to like organic synthesis and like chemistry? Like what brought you guys into this field?
That was a
Ooh,
question
that's a good
that
question.
Frances Arnold asked when we got lunch with her. And I only bring her up because it was
Flex.
really funny. Like I didn't know what to say. But generally my answer is like spite. Because in high school, my worst subject by far was chemistry. Like it's just like I just didn't get it, like stoichiometry and stuff like that. Now I do, which is good. But back then, it was just confusing. And at the same time, like I got rejected from every school for college except for Florida State, which was great because my parents went there, so it was very familiar. So I go to Florida State and I'm like, well, how can I make myself stand out if I want to go to like a top tier med school, do an MD PhD? And so I'm like, oh, don't do biology, do biochemistry.
Med school.
I know,
Med school,
I know, it
come on
sucked
now,
us
come
in. But I did an internship, and every time I tried to do something chemical biology oriented, I kept focusing on the molecules. So my PI was like, hey, maybe you should do like synthesis for the rest of your undergrad. And then I fell in love with it. It's really challenging. I took organic chemistry and all that, and it just made sense with like it was like discovering something that I never knew I was missing out on. But like once I discovered, I was like, holy crap, where's this been all my life? Like it's the only thing in science that actually truly makes sense to me that is also intellectually stimulating and so much more complex and deep than I could ever think. So it was like a great fit once I figured out it existed.
I feel like my answer is a little bit more elementary, where it was I was like, cool. It's like making medicines with Legos. So I was like, you just put the bricks together.
Marty
I was
Burke.
like, I like this a lot.
Marty Burke.
Yeah. I mean, I had a great time, and that's because I just picked a random lab because I was like, I think I want to do chemistry. I don't know what I want to do, and I did total synthesis with Romo for a bit, who's now at Baylor. He was at A&M for a while, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. I'm just like, I'm physically, my hands are in the hood, and I'm just building molecules with my hands in the hood. And I was like, okay, I can get behind this. And it just kind of fell from there because that's now 15 years. Oh my God, like 15 years later, I'm like, all I do is like all my hobbies are just building and just putting together things,
Right.
just making stuff. And so I'm like, oh, okay, this build makes sense.
I was putting together my because I had my candidacy exam in like 2 weeks, and
Ooh.
you know how
I'm
it is.
sorry.
You guys know how it is,
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
like it literally consumes your life. Like putting
Yep.
together a paper and the presentation consumes your life, and
Yep.
you're like
Yep.
my PI is lucky enough where like if it's time for presentation time, I can just focus on that. I don't gotta be in the lab, but it just consumes your life. Like and like coming
Yeah.
back from working on a presentation to back like into the fume hood, like there really is such a good feeling about it, and like there really is such a peace about when you're in the lab. Because I'm more organometallics than you guys are more like method development and reaction synthesis, but like there is nothing better like putting in your even though you shouldn't do this, but having your headphones in, listen to a podcast, listen to some music, doing whatever, and then just like doing chemistry. There's some
Yeah.
serenity to it. I don't like for me that you really can't beat it. But
Oh, that's why I love columns because it's just like the people are like, oh, I hate columns. And I'm like,
I don't know about that. I don't know
you know,
that far.
I just put it. I know. I just put it in headphones, and it's therapeutic. I'm just like sitting there, just with the test tube rack, and now I don't anymore because they're
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of tough because like I felt that way in my first year and a lot of my second year and up until my candidacy exam, of course. Like yeah, you start learning what cyber sickness is because you stare at a computer for 12 hours and get nowhere and you get nauseous. But when I came back, it's like I all of a sudden started being someone that other people relied on, and so the headphones at work just stopped being a
Yep.
useful tool for meditation, even though it was like one of the only things that kept me focused. Um, yeah, so now
Same.
it's like,
Yeah.
and I love my lab mates. I'm so glad we're all together. But I have responsibilities that aren't just mine. And that's something that I'm learning about like
Yeah.
academia. It's like, regardless of your position in academia, you are going to be responsible for more than you signed up for. And you can either change your mindset or change your career path. And it sucks. Like there's
Yeah.
no I wish there were more accommodations for, you know, me just being able to focus on my thing. I can't imagine what it would be like as a PI, which unfortunately I'm built for this fucked up system, and so I'm probably gonna go into academia and
You
be a
got this.
PI. But I'm like trying to
Yeah.
take notes, right? And like really because I want ultimately if I'm gonna lock myself into a career in academia, I want to really try my best to convince myself it's not right for me. And if I can't, then I gotta do it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a good.
I
That's
think
good.
like
But
on
it's
that
gonna
end
be.
of like I was gonna say I think like the best piece of advice I can give to you, especially as someone who was like in that position and is now come into it as like a 50. Like it's I mean I've been there. That's been me since like the second year. Um, learn how to direct people, not like I'm a director. Learn how to go like if someone needs help with something in our lab, if I'm not able to immediately help them, I usually know who would be the best person for them to ask. And that's you build up the like, oh, this person's really good at this other person's really good at this, or this person's really good at this. Hey, go ask so and so because they're an expert or they're really good at whatever.
Absolutely.
Like you don't you can't always be the person to always help people and don't try to
Yeah.
be. That puts you in a bad place very quickly.
That delegation process, it's at first like when I was because I've been using that as a tool and you feel kind of guilty at first because you don't mean to, but it feels like you're
Yep.
shrugging their problems off onto someone else. But actually
Yep.
no, that's like how teams work. A lab is a team. So yeah, I like the perspective and I'm trying to integrate it more.
Yep. Just like that's the thing is like to remind people of like, hey, it's a team thing. It's like I'm not shrugging you off. It's just I can't right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I sometimes people like my lab mates will ask for me for help. It's like I'm like, ah, shit, I gotta get my own shit done. Like, but like I take a deep breath. I'm like, all right, I gotta remind myself. Okay, I was a first year one time asking these like dumb questions, but like there are so many like chemistry techniques, especially like I don't know if you guys do like a lot of well, I mean you guys run columns or I don't know what other like techniques you guys do on a day to day, but I mean like we do a lot of Schlenk free like Schlenk or like inner Schlenk line techniques, and it's like it clicks with me now, but it's like actually explaining that to someone like you really need to like you need to explain it to someone or like teach someone. You just don't pick those up right away, and so I always got to remind myself like, okay, I was in their shoes one time. Let me take a deep breath and like go help them with this because it really is super important, I think. But yeah, I mean, this actually this is another question that was general lab advice from you guys. Like, I mean, over your years of doing synthetic work, I mean, there's got to be like 3 or 4 like tips and tricks that you guys have picked up along the way that makes your life way easier.
Be teachable. Be teachable and like know that other people are going to know things that you don't, and that's okay. You don't have to know everything, and be willing to ask for help.
Yeah. Um, I think a couple things, like Google Calendar was my best resource in my first year and in late undergrad when I had a lot sort of on my plate. I still do, but it's different. But being able to manage your time is just so important. Like knowing when a reaction is going to end or in the ballpark is critical to the business, and knowing when it's okay to just track a reaction that you have no timeline for is really good. And
Yep.
at the same time, you probably need that break. If you think you need that break, you probably need that break. And I know I'm one to talk because I don't take them. But we're working on that. I also think that like
Baby steps.
yeah, I know. If you're doing your PhD, you're doing a master's or something like that, I think it's really easy to forget that you're generating like intellectual property for a research group in a university or a research institution. And y there's rights that come with that usually. So it's
Yeah.
always important to, because academia is always this weird, murky, festering system of morals, and it's always nice to know what your current rights are and know who's trying to get you more rights than you currently have. So pay attention to the unions when they come by and talk to you. Give them your time, tell them your grievances, because ultimately they take that and write it into contracts so you can, get paid more or have better health care or have more sick time or get your visa fixed up without you getting trapped in a different country. Like, I really do think that grad worker, I call them grad workers, not grad students, because ultimately, like, I'm here to work. So I'm more than just a student, and so the grad worker rights are really important.
Yeah, I think less on like the grad workers union side. It's probably more silly now compared to that, but like keep a really good notebook no matter what you do. Like
Yes.
because
Huge.
don't think of it as like, oh, I don't need to write this down right now because I'll remember it later. One, you won't, and
No, you
two,
won't.
you're doing it for future you. Yeah, you're doing it for future you who is also going to be looking back trying to decipher your own notes. Like if you're in your third or fourth year trying to put together something, or third year candidacy, fourth year, whatever, you want to have all the details there to remind yourself.
Yeah.
It is corny, but like honestly, if someone else can't follow your procedure, you're doing it. Like you need to be. It needs to be good enough where
Yep.
someone else can follow it to a T. Because I
Yeah.
swear, I'm sure you
Yep.
guys have come across this too. Like I go to the SI and I'm following some reactions, and they don't turn out exactly how it says. So, like you know,
Yeah.
just saying, you need to be very, very mindful about that. That's actually good advice.
Yeah, we
But
got.
I mean, but I also mean, like, do you guys have like in the lab techniques like that make your day go by faster that you've picked
Absolutely.
up along the way?
Yes.
Something that you
Yeah.
Oh
learned,
yeah.
I think extractions don't always need to be done in a set funnel. Um,
Nope.
Mm,
Test tube,
Test tube
baby.
extractions are good.
Disposable test
I would
tubes.
even challenge you to do it in a 1 dram or 2 dram or a 4 dram vial.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because it's just a biphasic extraction. Instead of, taking the stopper and opening it to the bottom, what you do is sift off your ethyl acetate from the top and put it right through a pipette that's packed with sodium sulfate or mag sulfate, and it dries it on the way down.
Yep.
And so you're saving a lot of time, glassware cleaning, especially on scales that are a bit smaller or concentrations that are a bit larger. Yeah, vial workup all the way. I'm team vial.
that's great advice.
I haven't
That is
used a
great.
set
I
funnel
actually
in months.
never heard of that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
That is great
I'll
advice.
take it one
Holy
step
crap.
further than for that. Like, so because I do this now with because I'm running all my screen, like my ligand screens and stuff in 1 dram vials, 4 mil, whatever. That's not, 4 mil. And yeah, same thing. Toss in the water when the reaction's done, toss in at the last state, pull it off. And then if you're doing something that is organometallic-y or has any kind of transition metal, do a layer of alumina and then a layer of mag sulfate. So you dry it, and then you also usually trap not all, but you'll trap the majority of your metal on the way down on the alumina.
That is
Absolutely.
sick advice. I've never heard of that.
Pristine.
No, it's super useful
Look at
because
me. Look at that.
there's
I'm learning stuff.
we've got this exchange student here. He's really great. And like very, very like intent on doing a very good job, which makes my life a little easier, right? But I'm helping him out, and I said, the goal for the day is to go home. And he's like, well, that you should want to be here. I'm like, well, you're going to get work done if you're here. You're going to do a good job. You're going to be focused. The goal is to get to be effective at getting home faster, because this whole PhD process is just really, really long. And so it's the things like the pipette drying columns, or the vial extractions, or I don't know, like, what else do we have? You can run reactions in NMR tubes if they're really confusing. Just use deuterated solvent. Like, it's things like that where you can never have too much data. And so it's always like, oftentimes you work hard so you can leave earlier, and that's okay because your brain needs it. Again, I'm one to talk. The trap here is that the more successful you are, if you have an addictive personality with this, because this is just gambling, at least total synthesis is. Yeah. So if you have an addictive personality, you just keep going. You just get more done. You don't ever call it. And that goes to the day to day, but also, like, if you're writing a paper and you have a lot of really great success, and then you're like, well, we have this other hypothesis we want to test, and you just keep adding to it. And so I will say, know when to call it, both on your day to day and on your publication effort. Like, yes, you can always write a longer publication. You can always stay a couple more hours, but damn, dude, you got 5-6 years here. It ain't worth it.
It's a lot. Spread it out. Nope. Oh, the one, actually, I have one from today that legitimately, if you're following a prep or a procedure, know when you have to actually do something in the workup. Like, if your workup is like, wash with HCl, wash with sodium carb, wash with brine, wash with water, do you really need to do all those things? No, probably not. You can probably just get away with HCl and then a brine wash and then filter over max sulfate, and you're good. Like, I don't know. Sometimes they get a little too. I guess the better way to put it is learn where you can cut corners and still be effective, like, in the hood, like, and not be unsafe, and not ruin your product, but just learn the little, like, I washed with brine, I didn't wash with water afterwards, like the prep wanted me to, because that's kind of goofy.
Yeah,
I hear
so
that.
things like,
or like you have like a water workup. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, the other day, we actually had when you're doing freeze pump thaws, don't heat with a heat gun. I did that the other day, and a Schlenk flask blew up in my face.
Oh my god!
So,
wait, really?
Yes, I had, bro. It was so fucked up. I'm okay now, but this is a great learning lesson for everyone. I was doing a freeze pump thaw on deuterated chloroform, and I was using a heat gun. Oh, actually, we got new heat guns. Because our other ones are kind of messed up. But these heat guns are, like, really powerful, and I didn't really know this. Like, they get really hot, and I froze the CDCl3. I was using a heat gun to make it thaw quicker, but it went right from the solid phase to the gas phase.
Yep.
And pressure built and blew up. So, like,
Jesus.
Yeah, yep. I actually got. You can't see it now, but I got 4 stitches here.
Oh my god!
And oh man, it was like, I can laugh about it now because it was like, in the moment
it's done.
It was pretty fucked up in the moment. Like, I was bleeding everywhere.
Oh my god!
But I highly, for anyone out there, just when you're doing a freeze pump thaw, just take your time with it. Just let it cool down with the air. Don't use a heat gun. Honest to God, even if it's DMSO. Even if it's DMSO.
Cool.
Yeah. No, that's
if
fair.
you're doing DMSO, maybe put in warm water, but
that one. I do warm water, just like tap hot water, to let it thaw.
Yeah. I also think, like, when you're doing freeze pump thaws, borosilicate glass is pretty good for it. If it's not borosilicate glass, you want to double check the pressure rating on those kinds of materials, because I took my other buddy Noah, he works in the Mayer group, does a lot of inorganic chemistry, and so sometimes they have boron NMRs they need to take. So they had a quartz NMR tube that I needed because I was doing some photochemistry and tracking it by NMR, and quartz is a good choice for photochemistry. Quartz filters out fewer wavelengths of light, so you get really the unadulterated UV broad spectrum that you're interested in for the NMR study. But I was worried about air because, again, photochemistry and air don't always mix. And so I was trying to freeze pump thaw this really expensive quartz NMR tube, and I just popped it because the temperature shock for quartz is a lot less favorable for handling than borosilicate NMR tubes. So the more you know.
So what shock or what temperature shock? Like what happened? Like what?
So yeah, I froze it in liquid nitrogen because it was in DCM. So I froze it in liquid nitrogen and then kept it freezing. Did the freeze in the pump, and then the thawing part I just put it in water like I normally do for deuterated DCM or whatever. Immediately you just hear this loud pop and it bursts open because I think the glass is just not. It's the glass itself. It's not the solvent that warmed up too fast. So there's a lot of safety risks. I'm glad it was just a small NMR tube inside of a Erlenmeyer full of water. But yeah, no, that stuff's scary.
How do you pull vacuum on the NMR
they
tube?
sell
What'd you rig up for
J
that?
Young?
So there's two. Yeah, so there's one you
okay.
can use a J Young, which is easy because they come with adapters that fit onto high-vac tubing.
Yeah.
The other one, which I've been doing, is they sell septa, like rubber septa that fit on top of NMR tubes. So you can do high-vac chemistry without using a J Young.
Do you get a good seal? Do you get a good seal from that? I've never. Maybe it's the septa I use, but I've never gotten like a good seal trying like a rubber septa with like let's say a needle. I've never gotten like a good seal that way.
Oh, I always get great seals with those. That's
really okay.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't really work with seals. I'm a chemist, but my girlfriend likes them. They're her favorite animal.
This guy.
No.
Someone stop him, please.
Yeah, no. You get a decent enough seal. I mean, the high-vac goes down.
Okay.
So, I'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah, if it goes down, it goes down. Maybe that's why this season just messed up. I don't know.
Yeah. Also, like, my last tip is, like, if you can distill something easily, consider it. Because it does change the outcome. A small amount of water in your DMSO could make the difference between a reaction working and not working. Or consistency, because hygroscopic solvents have different amounts of water. And so if you're really trying to optimize something, you want everything to be as rigorous as possible. And maybe that's the boomer Yale take, but I think the labor is worth it in the end.
You start really strict to get the results you want. And that way, if it works, you know it works. If it doesn't work, you know it's because of the reaction, not because of something else. And then once you start developing it and running it more, and you can pull back some of the restrictions and see what actually works. Then you start getting away with maybe you don't distill, and it's
honestly DMSO.
Also, if you're
go ahead. Sorry. I was going to say DMSO. Oh fuck!
I'll say
the time is away. All right. I'm done.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. Casey, seriously, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. I want to be polite. No, if know the boiling point of what you're distilling, obviously, but if it's something that's like, 30 Celsius, maybe, try to distill that carefully. And maybe use Teflon tape around all of your joints and not just septa with electrical tape, because then you end up just Yeah, that's how you lose 50 mils of trichlorosilane just to
do
the
transfers
hood.
at all? Because that's how I do volatile solvents. Andre, the cast feature leader, has a great guide on doing back transfers. So
so I was gonna say, Andre, cast feature leader, for the schlenk tube thing you're talking about, that was another thing that we touched on earlier. Is like that you don't have to necessarily know a person that's good at something either. You can know a resource. And so like if someone is having trouble with something like a schlenk thing that I can't immediately help with, I usually go, that's the first, like the schlenk line survival guide is the first place I go, hey, go look at that. It's well illustrated. There's a lot of colors. It's great.
Yeah. If you're like a relatively new student, I forget his name. You guys know him, Andre. I think it's like Polish or something. It's some European last name. But
he's UK baby.
Yeah, it's an organometallics paper, but it's also on a website. It's the Schlenk line survival guide. Like, it's super. I mean, my PI actually told, before it got published, like he told me, like, you need to read this and know the ins and outs of this before doing, like, you if you're gonna, especially if you're organometallic group, you need to be an expert in that before doing any stepping to the fume hood, I think.
Yeah.
Definitely reading that a few times.
Absolutely.
I was gonna say,
I got really lucky with that with my stuff.
Like, DMSO is not as bad as I think people make it out to be. I've always done it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've just done like calcium hydride distillation.
Yeah.
I mean, because I've access to good vacuum pumps, so you can distill it at like 100 degrees under like a high vacuum.
Yeah.
And then freeze pumped is a little annoying, but I mean, it is what it is. But then it's no point.
There you guys are.
Is that Andre?
See, that's me and Andre. Yeah, me and the guy. Me and the man.
Wait, is that your phone
At the
background?
Future Leaders Conference.
No, but it should be, right?
That's
Looks
legendary.
pretty good. It's a good looking background. No,
It's legendary.
Right.
But yeah, Schlenkline Techniques, go check that out.
Absolutely.
It is lifesaver. It's literally a lifesaver.
And you can teach yourself with it. That's the fun
Yeah.
part. Is like it's actually readable and legible to the point where I taught myself how to do a back transfer and didn't have to bother any of my lab mates.
Right.
So it's good research.
Yeah, it's like before,
yeah, I should have done that for the tricloxylene.
before new lab members come in, they ask me how to do a Schlenkline technique. I'm like, did you read this first? Because it really is like, if you have and you still don't get it, then I will come help. But you have to read that first, because otherwise,
Right.
I mean, I was able to do it as a first year. So if I could do it as a first year, anyone could do it as a first year, I think.
Sure.
But yeah. So any so we were talking about like, I guess, like future goals. So I know Noah's really thinking about the thing about going into academia. Any like what's kind of leading you towards that, Noah, you think?
So
The beard and the flannel.
yeah, actually, this is how my department chair dresses. But funnily enough, it's always like hard on the internet to say why you want to be in academia, because every industry nerd's just gonna be like, you can do that in industry, and I'm like, well, okay, but I don't want to. And I think every time someone brings up a valid point for working in academia, another person in industry is like, you can do that in industry. So I've been trying to like think about really unique things that are personal to me, that might not be applicable to everyone. But like there's the small things like, well, first and foremost, like running a lab sounds like a genuinely enjoyable endeavor to me. And yes, you can do it in industry, but the way you do it is very different. I like being able to work on things that might not be useful. I just like science for science. And I think in industry, a lot of the problems are really, they only work on important things. And sometimes that's to the detriment of interesting chemistry itself. And I like chemistry for chemistry. I like mentoring. I think it's an energizing and refreshing part of my day to get to know people I'm responsible for the success of. And it's kind of a really great way to get engaged in your community as a whole. And I think beyond that, I like lectures. Like I like teaching. I think it's exciting. I think it's again energizing to go into a large lecture hall and teach something that to me is very basic, but might be really profound to someone who hasn't been exposed to it before. And also, like we need good people in academia. And I'm not claiming I'm a good person, but like I want to try, to be an actual resource for whatever students that are working with me. And yeah, and like I don't know, like it's not like I'm trying to fix academia by any means, but like that's why I say I'm like built for it, because I haven't completely eroded yet in terms of my like soul. Like academia really, really hurts a lot of people, which is so disappointing. But I'm going strong, and I feel like I can actually take the lessons that I've learned and pass them on to people that I'm responsible for, and hopefully they become better off for it. Yeah, I think also like I guess the last thing is like chemistry is like hard enough, like point blank, like just doing science is very challenging. And I think organic chemistry specifically, I don't know if I'm going to be an organic chemist. It might be chem bio, it might be organic chemistry, but it's the level of like the canonical behavior of this community really pushes a lot of different backgrounds away from it. And I hope to like, do a good job at seeking out people that are interested regardless of the challenges they may have to getting up to speed. Because like ultimately, like as I'm finding out more and more with the stresses of day-to-day work, like this is a human thing. Like it's very much science. Science doesn't care about how you feel, but it's a human activity. We are people doing science. And so I don't know. I want to be a part of that coalition that really extends the olive branch to communities that really feel like this isn't for them, not because of the science, but because of the social dynamic. So that's my MO.
I think that's a great point because Casey, I definitely want to talk about like your future goals. I think because you're definitely coming towards the end here, but I think this is a good point to bring up though. Is like the problems with academia. I think, and I think it's important to talk about at least from a graduate student point of view. And like, I don't know how to describe. I don't really know how to like describe it. Like, I can kind of see it, the politics of it, but I don't know. Like, it's funny. I guess the irony of it too is like, we talk about like diversity and like being inclusive for all that, and like I'm all for that, absolutely. But it's funny though because we're three straight white males on this podcast talking about this, so it's just, to me, it's kind of funny. There's an irony to it,
Yes.
right? So it's like, does that make? And hopefully I'm not the only one thinking of this, but it's
No,
just like,
it always feels like
I don't know.
disingenuous when I say things like that, right? Because it's like, well, who am I to talk? But I think that ultimately, like yeah, like if people want to take it that way, sure. I might not be the best person cut out to do what I want to do in terms of the social aspect of running a lab and having a department, but like, I don't know, like I feel like I really like just historically, I think there's a lot of, like Jewish religious texts about like the history of being marginalized, and I'm not talking about modern day. Anyone listening to this, I'm not talking about Israel, but there's just a lot of religious texts and a lot of sermons that I had growing up from like my rabbi, from things unrelated to modern politics that just always made me feel like really resonate with sort of the plight of people who are oppressed. And I think my family has a history of leaving where they were because of certain persecutions, and of course the world's not perfect today for Jews, but it's definitely better for white Jews than most other groups of people. But I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. Like it doesn't feel complete if you're not trying your best to make the world better and more accessible. Whether that's your disability, whether that's being first gen, whether that's being Black or Latino in STEM. Like if you're not actively making an effort to mentor your students in the way that they need, not just the way that you think they need, then I don't know, like what are you even doing? Like it goes beyond just like me being like a white dude on a podcast. Yeah. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I think it's well said because because we're obviously all on Twitter. It's like I always hear people complain about like, and don't get me wrong, there are people that are like, it's like it's dominated by white males. It is, but it's like I've only met like people that I know are like the advisors I met. It doesn't matter what their gender or their race. Like I've always just met great people, and they all just happen like most of them just happen to be like white males. Like I don't know. Maybe I'm being like maybe I'm the one that's being like hypocritical or whatever.
I think it's a
and then I'll take that. I'll take that.
No, it's fine. I think it's a point to be
know.
made that like like regardless of your backgrounds, like people can be good people, but I will argue that we need people who are women, gender diverse, racially diverse.
Yeah.
And it's not just to fill a box, but it's like there's an insight and a culture that goes way beyond anything we can understand. Because again, science is not about your race or your background or anything, but in terms of building a community of people who can be the most productive and safe in their environment, you need people who can speak to their own backgrounds and foster, speak up on behalf of like injustices within the department, but also just like there's a lot of great, exciting, vibrant things about other cultures that you're just gonna miss out on entirely. And if you don't actively sort of root for people who don't look like us, everyone can be a good person, but you need more. Like you need more than just being a good person. I think it just feels empty without it. Yeah.
Well, first off, don't say us. Is y'all. I'm Latino. I look it very hard. I know, but no, that's still very, very. That's a whole nother issue too of being white passing. But also Latino. It's like I very much feel like places I've been before, it is like the checkbox because it's like, oh, look, we have someone Latino. And then I show up and I look like this. And so I don't know, but Noah, you're completely spot on because it's like, you can, if you don't have people with those perspectives and that back from the different backgrounds, how do you like efficiently mentor them? Like, how do you efficiently have students get mentored if you don't have people that also share their backgrounds and their beliefs and their perspectives? Like, it's hard, like, because not everyone not everyone gets taught the same way. Not everyone processes things the same way. Not everyone thinks the same way about things. And, more diversity is never going to be a bad thing in regards to anything.
Yeah, I feel like if you have
Yeah,
a student
look at
in a work environment or any environment that doesn't feel comfortable being themselves or communicating in a way that's familiar to them, you lost. Like your department took the L and you missed out
Yeah.
on a potential sort of generational researcher because you didn't give them a place to land with standing straight up. And it sets
Yep.
back people when they don't have people that truly understand them. You don't like, I'm not talking about like, oh, like I understand the history of your people. I mean, like, you don't have to code switch when you talk to them. You don't have to change the way that you look, the way that you
Yep.
dress. You can just be yourself. If they don't have that support, and I argue most departments don't have that kind of social dynamic, but if they don't have that dynamic, there's a reason why most departments are looking the way they do when you walk down the hallways. So it's because they're not built. They're built to keep other people out, and that's just
Yep.
something that I want to be conscious of in my future career and hopefully contribute to sort of engaging in the opposite.
Yeah. Well, I want to apologize to Casey real quick because look at me even being ignorant. I mean, it's crazy.
Oh, you're fine. No, I'm kidding. I was joking. Like, that's obvious. No, it's something that, like, I mean, I'm not joking about being Latino. I actually am.
Yeah.
But like, yeah. But no, it's something that I've always like because it's never been something that's been like super serious to me. As in, like, if someone says, "Oh, you're white," I'm like, "Well, yeah. Look at me. Like, yes, yes. I can't catch offense to that because I am white passing, and because of that, like." I'm treated differently than some people in my family are treated on my dad's side, which is like
Yeah.
they look like my dad looks like Hispanic and like Mexican. Like he looks completely different than me. And I do have family members that get treated differently than I do because of the way they look. And so they have a perspective and they are going through things that I have not because of this. And that is something that I have to be aware of as well, is like if I want to also champion diversity and also be a part of it. Like I do have a perspective, but I have to be aware that people that are also Latino that don't look like me have an entirely different perspective. It's a whole mishmash of like just it's so complex and complicated, but
Yeah. I
yeah,
think, and it's really tough too because it's not like all we can do is just be better than the previous establishment. It's all like we really
yep,
can really do. I mean, a lot of the when academia started taking off, I mean, it was mostly like white males that were in these leadership positions that were head of these universities and schools, and that's just what it was. And all like I feel like all we really can do is just be better than that, right? And just pursue good science and just be um, and be inclusive, be diverse, and just be thoughtful about people and be considerate of other people for sure.
Yeah.
But it's a
that's
complicated issue
I mean,
too. Go
yeah,
ahead.
this is the crazy part is like just the fact that that we're having this conversation is good because I'm like, there's no way people are just outwardly sexist, right? And then I've met people, and you'll hear comments occasionally from people that it's like this kind of conversation that we're having right now would just be like earth shattering to them because they're like, oh, they're actually talking. What are they talking? What the fuck are they talking about? That's so stupid. And I mean that from a perspective of people who will say like openly racist and sexist things. Like have met people and I've heard that kind of shit in academia, and it is surprising because like you're trying to be better could be as simple as, hey, maybe don't say that sexist joke that you think is really funny and the white guys around you laugh and the females feel very like the female identifying individuals feel potentially excluded.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Like it's yeah, but so I think don't be a dick. and try to be better and just be open to everything. And our department has done a really good job growing and kind of breaking out of that previous mold. And I think it's just, at the end of the day, just have the conversations and get people's opinions and thoughts and perspectives on it in the department, and hopefully they're positive and see where it
Yeah,
goes.
I think it's a little more complex because people who are also of backgrounds that are like traditionally discriminated against, they don't know everything. Like
Hmm.
it's not their job to like keep tabs on their entire experience and then be the liaison of their culture. And so I think when people going into
Yeah.
academia have these like lofty goals of being um I don't know, champions of diversity and they look like me, there needs to be like real intent behind it. It's not just like some vague, amorphous, nebulous like desire. Like it,
Like virtue
yeah,
signaling.
exactly. It can't be virtuous. It
Yeah.
has to be like there's literature. There's like actual scholarly literature out there that's quite compelling and well written out there on sort of discrimination, harassment, written by people that are extremely insightful. And I think a place that I started, which again, I don't have time to even enjoy myself, but this is actually like formative, important stuff. So I bought this book about anti-Semitism. It's called On Anti-Semitism, which is a horrible book to read on the train because no one knows if you're for it or against it, which I learned. Um, but I was reading this from the perspective, it's from a bunch of progressive people, from the perspective of like, how has my own culture that I'm not an expert on my own culture, but how has that had things manifested against us, but also have we as a culture manifested prejudice against other people? And it's like learning specific actions, specific events, it builds the context for why diversity and inclusion for a specific group is important. And if you're just gonna like, not to bash what you said, Casey, but if you're just gonna listen to people and talk to them, it's not looking at everything that you can really for being inclusive and really learning about the plights of people. You don't have to be an expert in it, but like
Yeah.
certainly I had a lot of opinions changed in this book that I read that were things that I pretty strongly held, but when people laid out sort of historical context for X, Y, or Z, and really made a sound logical point as to why it's important, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, Jews kind of suck in this regard as a culture, and there are many cases where it's like, oh shit, we didn't deserve X, Y, or Z. There's many cases where we're perpetuating X, Y, or Z that happened to us, and it's like, like I don't know, just being well read and well informed is I think the path to, especially as academics, like we read, like it's what we do, and so read more than just the science. Like,
I don't know.
well, I read papers every day. I just think what I'm saying basically is there needs to be more intent behind the virtue signaling, right? It has to be, you need a
Yeah.
plan before you.
You can't just say that you want to do the thing. You also should try to do the thing and
Well,
put
you need to
effort into
know how,
doing the
you need
thing.
to inform yourself on how to do the thing. Yeah,
Also, yeah, know
that's the
how to do
tricky
the
part
thing.
for
Yeah.
diversity and inclusion. So, yeah, I can say all this, and I don't blame listeners if they don't really believe my intent. That's okay. It's a trust that has to be earned over time.
I
I
don't
think
know.
people
He's a
will.
white guy. He scares me.
I think people will. I think really, honestly, I think people generally know when people are being like insightful, like and have intent. I personally believe that. Like for me, I can tell when someone is being like very serious about what their beliefs are in. Um,
Yeah.
so I can say like what you guys are saying is I think you guys like actually believe that, and you know I mean, I want to support other scientists at the end of at the bare bones. Like I want to support other scientists. That's what it boils down to me. And whether they look like me or or they come from different cultural backgrounds, like I'm here to support them um, and just be a good person. I think that's what it for me. That's what it boils down to. So, and I'm here to help out whoever I can. So,
Mhm.
and we all are. So if there are graduate students out there that are struggling or feel like they're discriminated against, like reach out to
Yeah.
us. Like we can. These are things that we'd be more than happy to aid in however we can, because I think these are the kind of conversations that I think more graduate students should be having for
Yeah,
sure.
and I think that ties into.
And I'm by.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just saying that ties into what I was saying earlier, which is like one of the things that truly makes academia a better place for like workers and students is unionization. So people applying to PhDs, this is the first time I've ever heard this. There are people who applied to our program specifically because we had an ongoing unionization effort, and they refused to apply to other places that didn't have one. Because the union's sort of this, like a well-constructed union
That's
is
cool.
something that catches some of these silly errors of academics that are either completely malicious and intentional or offhand behaviors that they've never trained themselves out of. The union's there for protecting you against that, and they're always going to advocate for you because they're your peers. And so that's my, again, I'm going to pitch that to people applying to grad school or professors listening to this. It's the safety blanket that we never had before. Like if you are anti-union for graduate
Yeah.
school, and I also like if you're union questioning, not sure where to stand, it is the only protection graduate students really have that has realistic timelines and mobilization for when wrongdoings do happen. So,
That's a great
yeah.
point. I don't even know if we have that in Texas. Honestly, I have to look. I don't really know the laws on this. Oh, maybe
Oh.
The
Casey.
South is
I
hard.
know you're
The
at
South is
A&M.
hard with unions.
Texas,
Ooh.
Texas is definitely tough in that regard. So I don't know. I know the Northeast is very good at this stuff.
Yeah,
Like Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey,
they're
Connecticut, Rhode Island. Those are all very good with the
they're
unions.
making
But
it there.
the South,
The
I don't know.
South, there's I know Florida's making it a rat's nest in terms of just certain union laws are becoming more complicated because the government doesn't like unions, and whether it's you don't have to pay to be in a union in order to benefit from it, which means no one's going to pay, which means the union has no money to do anything, union goes defunct, or if you do pay, you have to pay physical stubs instead of electronic stubs, so manpower gets depleted by tabulating physical checks to the union. And so it's like things like this where it's like not always the fault of union organizers or graduate students for not having one. Like often it's like the insidious bullshit government in Florida or whatever other state. I'm sure Abbott's got his own bullshit in Texas. But
Just a little bit. Just a
yeah,
little bit.
it's an insidious process, and so it sucks for me to sit here and pitch like only apply to a place that's unionizing or has a union because like a lot of people, their reality is they can't just up and go to the Northeast for grad school, right? That's not or Michigan or UC or whatever. Like you can't. That's not realistic, and so but I will argue
California schools for sure. Very
yeah,
expensive.
like there's
Yeah.
there's a lot more than just like a union that goes into protecting your mind, body, and soul as a graduate worker, and like knowing a place that makes it easier to access your rights is a good start. So
Yeah, I was gonna say even just knowing you have rights. Like
yeah,
I feel like a lot of
Yeah.
I feel like I swear a lot of international students like they don't even know like they have these kind of rights. Like especially like Southeast Asia, Asian countries, like they come over here and they work really hard because that's what they know. That's what they do over there. They come here, they have rights here. Like you guys, like students have rights here. At least they definitely should. So know your rights as a graduate student for sure.
yeah,
I think the hard thing is like, I mean, our department is, I think we have more international students than domestic students, which is awesome, but it does make a unionization effort or stuff like that very difficult because they can't strike. Like international students can't really strike. If they have the threat of their job being taken away, they get kicked out. And like here, especially in Alabama, that is a very real threat. And it sucks. It absolutely sucks. Yeah, and I don't know what to do to make that better here. That's a whole nother
yeah.
that's a whole
No,
can of
it's tough, and again, it's these institutional blockades against progress. Whether it's intentional or not for the university to make it absolutely life-threatening for people to unionize, it just happens. And at Yale, I think we're lucky enough. Yale's a private school, so you don't have to work with the government to make sure the union makes sense. Because public schools, there's a whole other added element of you have to work with the government to make sure you're following their laws or labor laws. But also, Yale's a pretty progressive school. A lot of people are on board with unionization, and part of that was um, for international students. We had to make it like worth it for them to want to vote yes on a union. So there's a lot of protections. Like you're
worms.
not allowed, like if you don't want to, you don't have to disclose your research at the border. If like you're crossing back into your home country and they question you because you don't want to tell people about proprietary science. If you want to, you can have up to 8 weeks paid off, so you can go and renew your visa. Yale can help you get back into the country if you're having issues. Yeah, no,
That's
there's like
cool.
in that that's
Yeah.
it's the university on some level, but it's also the union that's codifying this in into doctrine. And hopefully, the rest of the union gets kind of ratified soon. But it's like you have to have tangible benefits for the people that have the most risk. But ultimately, like if you are not in, maybe this is a little socialist of me in a positive way, but if you're not sort of in charge or in command of your own labor, then I feel like you're being exploited and taken advantage of as a graduate worker. Because this shit already sucks. Like you're providing IP, like a JAX or a science paper looks much better for your PI and your university than it does for you. Um, so you know, maybe
Truth.
that's my other soapbox. Be in charge of your labor if you can.
And what makes all this really the most difficult is that like you said, grad school's already tough. So like, how are you supposed to balance like all the government work, let's say,
Yeah.
and like fighting for your rights on top of trying to get the PhD? It's literally impossible. Honestly, it's honestly impossible.
Absolutely.
You know,
yeah, no, and I think what happened here is we
Yeah.
got lucky enough that there was a big enough group of graduate workers who decided to take leaves of absences to help organize the bargaining committee to even have a fight for a contract. And what also helped us is there are two other unions at the university who were willing to give us resources and advice on how to unionize ourselves. And this was a 30-year process to get a graduate worker union at Yale. Like this was one of the oldest unionization efforts for graduate workers. Like, and it's still not done. So I'm talking from a place
it's hard.
of like, and this is the optimal like position to be in, and it sucks for a unionization effort of graduate schools. But yeah, I can't imagine how it is in the South. I know Duke is the first one to fall, which is great. They just voted yes on a unionization effort, but like they're a private school, it's a little easier.
Good job, Duke.
So we'll see how it plays out. I think the South is going to really suffer in a really horrible way by having restrictive anti-labor, anti-diversity laws, and people are just not going to go to grad school there. People aren't going to want to live there.
And that just sucks. I don't know. And there's no easy solution.
Yeah.
Either. Know your rights and
No.
like you like honestly like if you go to a school, I mean, I guess just do your due diligence of picking a PI that is, well, first of all, it's like great science, but they're also like genuinely looking out for you.
Yeah.
You know,
And like
that's really the best advice I can really give. That's realistic.
That's still easier said than done.
That's the best realistic advice.
Because some departments don't have that person.
Yep.
I'm lucky enough that my boss and I get along super well, and he's just been extremely supportive. But there are places where everyone's just really hard to work with. And again, this goes back to like, I think different people of different backgrounds experience the pressure of this system differently. And the more that you've had to deal with in your personal life before going to grad school, the more intense the same behaviors will feel to you versus someone else who's kind of had it a little easier in life. So the perception of these wrongdoings or aggressive behaviors, it's not equal. And again, it's like these things that it's like you just got to take a note of it if you're trying to go into academia, because like you're gonna have to deal with this. Like you're gonna have students that are discriminated against and treated like shit, and God forbid this doesn't happen, but like horrible things can happen to them. And like it's a full-time like job just trying to be a good person in academia, and so it starts with studying the game and using it against them.
That's all. I was gonna say, like, you got to play the. What's crazy is you have to play the game a little bit too to like get into these kind of positions.
Yes.
But at the end of it, I feel like I don't know. At the end of the day, like all any of us really could do is just be a good person, be considerate, be kind.
Yes.
I feel like that'll honestly take it the furthest. I think know your rights, stand up for yourself, but just be kind and generous. I think if everyone did that, God, the world would just be such a better place. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you're telling
just
me.
have empathy.
I don't know if you guys have been on Twitter lately.
All right. What part about Twitter? You mean X? I'm gonna keep calling it Twitter. I'm gonna keep calling it Twitter.
I can't call it X, man. I can't do it.
I don't know why you removed that. I don't know why Elon called it X now. I think Twitter was such a great, and the old logo was fantastic. Like putting out a
Oh,
tweet,
it's good.
it's great. It's fantastic.
The conspiracy had in me is like he's
Oh,
purposely tanking it because people are
I
mean to him on
I
it.
don't know. I feel like
So,
Elon, like I feel like people criticize Elon a lot on the internet for being like a douchebag or whatever, but I don't think they give him enough credit
oh God,
for like having this unique talent of buying someone else's company and fucking tanking it. He's really good at that shit. Um, whether it's Tesla or SpaceX
oh
or
Jesus,
bullshit like that.
the Boring
Yeah,
Company.
really, really doing a lot for
The Boring
society,
Company.
making earthquakes less safe. Great, cool. Um, I
I do like his readers context though. You got to give him that. I like the
that
readers
there.
context though. When the people I like on tweets, I do like that. I don't know if it works that well, but from what I can tell, it's
Oh, I
pretty
love
good.
when the readers' context beat
yeah,
people's ass. But Twitter, I tweeted this today. Like, it feels more like cringe Reddit or like boomer Facebook now. Like, I'm just seeing
yep,
some really bad content. Like, they messed up the algorithm. I don't know it. I used to have some really surreal, whack stuff that
yeah.
I do not like or retweet because I know people that follow me are going to see it and then condemn me for it. So I don't interact with it, but I look at it and I'm like, wow, that is culture. Um, neither positive nor negative.
You're talking about yeah. I need to get back. I need to get onto Threads. I think because my biggest thing is I used to use Twitter for like artists that I would follow, like graphical artists, not like music artists. That's more another thing I think. But like people that draw like video game stuff, anime stuff, things like that, like memes or just all the silly stuff. And the Twitter used to be really good about feeding papers that were very specific to my field. Um, and now a lot of that is just it's gone. And I've actually had this thought in my head the past few days. I'm just like maybe it's just time I just say fuck it and I'm done with Twitter. And like a lot of the content has moved to Threads, and I'm just like, well, it's not
Is Threads
great, but
picking up
it's
though?
something
Honestly,
that's
I've not moved over to Threads yet. Um, but I feel like listen, say if I'm wrong, but I feel like people will move to Threads, but people just will come back to Twitter. Now maybe that's me just being a pessimist, but I just feel like everything's just so established on Twitter. Now it's not a good reason to switch over, but
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
It's
I
just
don't
like there
know.
was
I
like
think Twitter it
yeah,
sucks because it is still the best resource for what, by and large I like to spend my time doing on my phone. Um, but it's a lot worse. It's just it's disappointing. It's like I don't know, it's like watching like Game of Thrones season 8 and like to me like I thought it was like watchable, enjoyable, but it used to be a lot better. Um, it
yeah. Which I guess
yeah.
you guys have been on Twitter much longer than I have. Like I've only been on Twitter for like, well, I used to have a Twitter, but then I guess I picked up, let's say, a chemistry Twitter a few months back. So I've really only known like I only got a Twitter like right before Elon Musk bought it. So I don't really know
Oh
like
God.
let's say what old Twitter was like. Let's just put it that way. So um,
The best jokes were always in the comments, which is the
oh
thing
my
I miss
God.
the most. Is like because you would be like, "Hey, look, this is a funny post. It's great. The post is funny. What's the comments like?" And then you go to the comments, and the comments are even funnier than the post because it's just the top one, and it's usually something clever and creative. And now it's just blue check marks that are just saying the most awful, vile, terrible things. That's just it's
I have a blue
No,
check
it's
mark, guys.
disappointing.
I have a blue check mark. Do I need to
Oh
get rid of
God,
it?
No, but
block
there's
them,
like so
block
I've had to like
right now.
be a little bit racist against blue check mark people because they're not all built the same.
Oh my,
There's like some that use it for their brand or to make sure that they're like, their content is
yep.
promoted. That's fine. Some people,
I'm partly doing that. I like the blue check mark for that reason. I do
yeah,
like
and
that,
it's
but
like,
I will admit, I'll come
Yeah.
clean
no,
and
that's
admit,
fine. No, and
I
that's a
do like it for that
perfectly
reason.
acceptable use of it. And some people just want the extra features. Okay, fine. It's a waste of your money if you want the extra features, but whatever. But there's a lot of people who just fucking suck, who are so insufferable in real life that the only way they can be heard,
Yeah.
positive or negative, is to have their bullshit opinion pushed to the front of the line of the damn replies. And it's
I
the
need to
word.
do this. I need my
It's always
opinions
like
on the front
Reddit
line.
Gold NFT Lover 15 saying some really stupid response to Elon Musk having a map saying "nice fucking meme, bro." Like, it's not, it's not, it's not
Good meme, bro.
useful. Like, they just
And that's what I miss it. I miss like I think the worst part like the blue check mark thing is one thing. Like I follow a lot of artists who I think it sucks for them. Like I do follow some that blue check marks and I don't um like I don't discount them for it or anything because for the same reason you have to have it for your brand. Like there were a large number of artists who would get commissions or get eyes on their work and make a living through their Twitter account because they would be able to at least put their work out there and it would get picked up in the algorithm and people and a lot of that has died now. And the blue check mark helps with that a little bit. So some people are. But it's yeah, it kind of sucks, dude. Like
Really?
a good resource has gotten taken away.
Let me ask you this: how did you guys, you know, you guys? I don't know how you guys feel about this, but you guys are low key Twitter famous in the chemistry community. So how did this happen? Like, you know, like how'd you guys gain so many followers?
Did it
just happen over time?
Things.
I love it. Give them a follow.
Yeah, I just make dumb content. And by that I mean like the occasional chemistry Twitter meme or I've talked to Scott Bagley about this before, about the impact like it can have is it's kind of crazy that you can post a dumb chemistry Twitter meme or like LOL look at my hood or something or like look at this reaction setup LOL and then it can actually spiral in a good way into like decent conversation. Like I made a joke post about trichlorosilane the other day, and somewhere down the line now there's a paper showing like reduction. It was reductions of something. Was it amines or nitros to amines with
I've done that one.
trichlorosilane? And it's like
hard, but continue.
real, really. I was gonna say, but like real honest, like good conversation can come from some of those like joke posts, and I think that's what I enjoy most about it, and I think that's where I kind of I don't know. It just happened. I just make dumb content and people are followed. I'm not that funny, but
I love it.
like sometimes
I feel
I
like
love it.
we're lucky enough, like broadly as chemists, to do something that's really cool, and other people find it really cool within our community.
Yep.
And I think people really like seeing things that resemble their passion, and chemistry is just so tight knit as a community. I think that it's really easy if you just get a couple of lucky retweets or whatever to just have a larger audience because you just consistently post. And most of it is just consistency. Like you will get more followers if you intentionally post more relevant stuff to science. I don't have the energy for that right now. I think in undergrad I had a lot more, so I just had a lot. You know, most of my increase in followers came from undergrad and first year when I just had more time to post about work and science. And make memes and stuff. But nowadays it's like, okay, I have this group of people, and like regardless of who new follows me, most people already know, you know, in my community that I exist, if they're on the internet. And for me, like I'm not trying to cultivate like a growing audience. I'm just trying to strengthen the one that I have, and you know, be more myself rather than trying to gain more. Because like when you're trying to gain more followers, there's a game to it. You can make a meme, you can do something silly, and it takes off. But I don't know. I just don't have energy to like disingenuously put out content that I don't personally would even want to look at or engage with. So nowadays I'm just trying to
It's the genuine thing, right? Like you can put out if you genuinely enjoy something, you just put out content you genuinely would. Like I used to do a lot of TikTok stuff. That was where I got really a lot of my stuff kicked off. And it was chemistry TikToks, but I was making content that was probably it was very niche in some cases, like very specific organic chemistry things, but like, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's niche, but you know, I was just making stuff that I thought was funny, and that's really all that matters. And somewhere the audience came along the way, and you found the niche came up, and it's like, ah, cool, it's there.
No, I think those are great points because like I always like sometimes like I feel like I want to post more because like it's just like I just want to show people like what they can do with chemistry specifically, and like that's really nothing more. But I always have this like a part of me is like I haven't really proved anything. Like I'm not like, do I have enough credit in the bank to be posting this? You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like I feel like I'm kind of a fraud where it's like if I post something, it's like I'm doing it for the likes, but like I'm really just not. But I always go through that like battle within my head, you know. Maybe all the
Nah,
students
just
are feeling the
post
same
it.
way.
You're getting a PhD. You're gonna never not feel like a fraud. That never goes away. So just
That's
Yeah,
post the
true.
I
content.
don't
You're fine.
think.
The imposter syndrome is
Yeah,
definitely real.
but you don't have to be an expert in something that you post about. Like, if you're working on it actively as a PhD student, chances are you're not an expert. That's the point. Um, and so it's totally
Yeah.
fine. Like, I don't know. Like, I think more people should. Like, I love when people post the chemistry
Let's
they're
see.
doing or post like some cool reaction they learned. I think it's always engaging to see like this infectious like optimism until some random French dude who thinks your structures are wrong wants to bag you publicly for that. Other than that, it's pretty chill. That's the one issue that I think has sort of died down though, is this
Uh,
like people will comment on your tweets to correct you about something that didn't need to be corrected, even if it's wrong. It's not that harmful to have it out there. That's died down for me, but maybe that's
yeah.
because I'm posting less chemistry content. I'm not really sure. Um, but
Oh, it's definitely a factor it's definitely a factor in how I post things. Like I posted the picture of my sling tubes and ice, and what you don't see in that picture is like my hood sash is all the way up because I'm 6'4" and I need to like be able to actually get into my hood. And if I put my hood at the proper working sash level, I can't fucking see my chemistry because the big black bar is there. And so, but I'm just like, I have to choose how I post this picture because if I have my hood sash all the way up, I'm gonna inevitably get comments that are like, "Oh, hoods up, safety, blah blah blah." I'm just like, dude, it's not that deep.
yeah,
But
I
yeah,
the fucking honestly, like it drives me up a wall. So some things just don't have to be like said, I guess. Like, you know what I mean? Like
yeah,
people who make comments like that, like people like other people hate that shit. Like and it's like what went through your
it's not
head to
fun.
think
It
that
just
that would
brings down
be
the
like
vibe. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. It brings down the vibe. That's a great way of putting it. It's like you didn't have to say that, but you did. Like
yeah.
why?
I always feel like there's like two
like
yeah,
different types of people who post things like that. One of them is like people who are genuinely extremely experienced in their craft and they're commenting on something that you may not be aware of, and
yeah,
that's actually kind of helpful sometimes. The other is people who just they're not thinking about the like they don't care about the message. They just care about being right on the internet. Um, and so like they'll say like, "Oh, your hood needs to be cleaned up or whatever," to Anna, and then we're just like, "Okay," like she knows, like she's aware. Like that's not like you can't
yeah.
reprimand someone on the internet for something. Period. Like it just doesn't work. That's not
I
internet
need to get
discourse. That's not how it works online. But if someone's genuinely coming from a place of like, I've worked with this thing before,
hey,
or the way you're doing this could cause X, Y, or Z. Like I may be annoyed at first, but like again, but like what we were talking about earlier, like you can kind of tell sometimes when people are being genuine, you know, and when they are just trying to hear themselves talk. I think the issue is even when
I
no,
hate those people.
it's really annoying, but like it's usually people that come from like a different like that are like older that um have a different way of talking to people because they're from a different generation. And so I just try to ignore it at this point. There's no like I don't know. The whole like chemistry Twitter just kind of likes to dogpile on people that are jackasses, which is like nice in a way because it's protective
that's a,
and I think it keeps people, you know, feeling safe in the environment. But sometimes like the dogpiling, like to the point where it's like 800 people saying the same thing to someone being a jackass.
it's like you don't always have to say your opinion on the subject. Like just if someone says something dumb, yeah, someone says something dumb. You don't have to interact. You don't have to retweet it because all that's doing is spreading the dumb thing. You don't have to do it. You could just go, that's not worth my time, and
Yeah,
then keep
unless you
scrolling.
publish some weird
I've
nature
started
paper and
taking
it
that approach.
makes no sense, then maybe you should get dogpiled on for that.
Oh,
But beyond that, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
maybe. I don't know. I mean, computers are going to come take my job. I'm going to be useless in
I
about 10 to
but I
15 years,
that's fine.
because AI and robots can
I
put together
welcome
my
that.
molecules.
I welcome my job
So,
becoming obsolete because that means science is becoming more advanced. I hate the idea of it because I love what I do. But like if someone, 30 years from now
yeah.
can use the same, if they have the same exact mental build as me, but what I do now is obsolete, they can go do something pressing like my stuff would be back in the day and that's okay. I think I was talking to, again, this is a Frances Arnold thing. She's very insightful. one of her big pieces of advice is if you have the opportunity.
Nobel
Well,
laureate.
yeah, I
go
know,
figure.
but she said it's really great. Like if you can get a Nobel Prize, you really should try. No, yeah, no.
Good advice.
She is not just a Nobel laureate. She's a scientific advisor to the president and also does stuff with Alphabet. And so she's got a lot of experience on things that like just broad like self-education and listening to people. And something she said that I thought was really challenging for me, especially in the context of doing total synthesis, is challenging in a good way. Was that if you are committing your life to a field that is not a growing field but a declining field, you have to be the best. You have to be an expert, or else you're just not going to get a job. Like you're not going to be able to sustain yourself. But if you commit your time and resources to joining a field that's more growing, like AI, which is not something I really want to do, but the point is like if you are not that 1% expert with a Yale PhD, whether or not you're actually smart or not, it's a whole different story. But if you have the degree, it does unfortunately help you get in some places. But if you don't have, the qualifications to beat out any other person in your field, the growing field is a great option to make your stake in the world and learn a lot about society in a way that we didn't know before. But yeah, I actually do welcome being replaced because I think total synthesis is extremely rewarding, but something that
Boring.
Oh. If my field is obsolete, great. That's everyone should think that of their field in science. I don't know. I just wish it wasn't weird venture capitalist douchebags doing it. I wish it was, or I wish it was more of a humanitarian thing, not a money making scheme to push society forward. But
I definitely would. I want to touch on the natural product stuff, but I really have to pee. So hang on, guys. I have to go pee.
Make sure to turn your mic off.
Hang on, guys. You guys
Put it right next
to my stream here, a big ass stream.
The heavy stream.
Let me mute real quick.
Why are there people still walking on the building? I have NMR time right now.
My lab partner just came in and walked in on me talking on a podcast. That's the most damning thing for a white person since posting a black square on Instagram in 2020. A black square
Posting
on Instagram
a what?
in 2020.
Oh God.
Some of the most racist people from my high school posted that shit. That's how I knew that was just a weird internet fad.
It's always a weird internet fad, isn't it?
Yeah. I feel like I'm becoming stupider. The internet's getting worse.
That's why I said, hey, maybe get off of Twitter, because I think like I used to be like actually it would help me improve as a chemist, and now it's like I'm not learning as much as I used to because now it's.
I don't know. I go home and watch Family Guy. That's not very formative.
That's a great way to learn chemistry.
I think it's a depression show. I think that's why I watch it. It's just like a safe.
You might be depressed. You might want to talk to somebody like a therapist, which is the other piece of advice.
Yeah.
Is all graduates should have therapists. Check.
I'm hoping you guys held on the fort.
Yeah, we talked about all the stuff.
Oh, great cultural impact on American society.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wish the viewers were smarter and didn't think that they were being like irony is really hard to understand for a broad population, and the show is never really serious about what it says.
Is it?
Oh, irony is the hardest thing to do well with, and Family Guy does a really poor job. Oh, it is. I'm gonna keep calling you on this, man. It's really hard. No, I
can't tell me being
ironic. No, I'm serious. I'm serious. Yeah, I am being 100% serious. I think broad audiences, Family Guy does a horrible job with it. But I enjoy the show. I just think that people are not smart enough to watch the show and not be racist.
I don't know what's ironic in this. I don't know what's real or fake anymore. Where's the Matrix in?
Casey.
I can't tell what's
Luckily, there's a
Family
Guy.
Anymore.
That's all I'm saying. The whole thing. Shut up, Meg.
Christ.
It's a great show.
Did you see? There's a meme. You know, there's like
Oh my
AI
God,
draw
yeah.
paintings going on. They put something like there's one of Peter Griffin. It was like when I'm at my lowest, I'm still a family guy, and I was like, I
There's
died. I died. I died.
You okay? So here's the thing. No, here's the thing. You say that. You say that. I'm pretty sure Noah sent that to the group chat like
there's
3 days ago.
Nuh-uh.
I
Um,
I have a good time with the show.
To the fantasy
No,
football
no,
chat?
to the yeah, it's
no, this is a different one.
yeah.
I don't.
I no there's Denzel Curry. I don't know if you know if you guys know who Denzel Curry is. He's a rapper.
I am the one, the only
Yeah.
one.
Ultimate. I used to know all the lyrics. There's a
No,
couple
he's really
lyrics I
good.
won't say,
No, he's
but
really good.
I used to know the rest of the lyrics.
Taboo's
Taboo's
really
great,
good.
and he's
Good
been
album.
consistent. If you haven't listened to his recent music, it's really evolved into something quite interesting. He's always been great, but on Taboo, there's this one lyric where he's like, it's called like the song's called like Escalators. I forget, but he's like something. That's me at my lowest. No Peter Griffin, and every time it's just the funniest thing. And like this guy who's supposed to like be talking about his like mental health and trauma on this album just drops like this really strange, lazy Family Guy bar. I love it.
See, I want to make fun of Noah so bad, like absolutely. And then this is the shit that I find on Twitter that I really
Yeah.
enjoy. And like,
God damn it.
it's not like it's anything better. It's not like I'm being more intellectual on Twitter, so I can't say shit about
I
Family
feel
Guy
like
memes.
being intellectual is so exhausting. I posted this on my circles maybe that there's something burdensome about being educated and aware about shit. Like you're always just depressing yourself.
So it's so hard to be
No,
smart.
but
Oh
like
my
if you're
God.
like I would be much
No,
happier if I was like a cow
yeah.
eating grass.
Oh
Or a
yeah.
Yeah.
I
dog,
mean,
just
it's
a
like
house dog.
it's
Imagine being
just a
like a
house
golden
dog.
or a golden retriever.
I've
Just
never
being a
met
golden
a
retriever,
sad
honestly,
golden
you know.
retriever.
I do.
Ever.
I
I
don't think
have
they
they have
exist.
cancer. No, they the ones with cancer are
They don't know
sad,
they
but
have
that's
Well,
cancer.
a different topic. That's
this guy.
that. Well,
They're still
that's
happy
actually
though.
yeah, that's actually what? That's true. They don't. Then usually you just cut off a leg and they're
Being a
just good
human's
to go.
really hard. I've
We have
you
self-awareness
know
and we
the
should
you guys know
not.
this A24 movie, The Lobster?
No.
Basically, these people, I forget the whole premise, but they basically choose which animal they get to be transformed into. Um, and if I was in that, I mean, it's a horrible movie because it's basically like they're forced to not be humans anymore for whatever reason. They're like not fit for society or whatever. It sucks. But in a good way, like I totally become the golden retriever.
Yeah,
If you could
okay.
be any animal, then I think if you could be any
Manatee.
animal, like for a day or something like that, just to live, to be in that. Um, I think grizzly bear is up there. I think an eagle is up there. To be honest, it has to be something at the top of the food pyramid, though. It can't be a. It has to be at the top of the food pyramid. I wouldn't want to be like a crab and get eaten by like
But
an
I don't
eel or
want to
something like
like
that. You know.
eat like
No, so
living
no.
things without cooking. Like
But
So
isn't that
here's the
any
thing.
animal though? I mean, well,
Here's
actually, I
the
guess
thing.
not. I guess if you're a house, if
I
you're a
want I
house
want
pet,
to
yeah.
bring this. I want to
Is that
bring this
Stuart
in.
Little? Who the hell is that?
No, no. So this is from an
I haven't
A24
seen this
movie
one.
called The Lamb
No,
that
no,
Noah
I was
brought
looking at The
up.
Lobster.
Yeah, I know, but you said A24 and an animal, and I wanted to just bring this up because
What do you guys
it
think?
is a
A24 or
A
824? I
A
literally
the
have no idea
letter
what you guys are
A.
talking about.
That movie looks great. I'm
A24.
gonna watch it. It's
Okay,
probably
A24.
heartbreaking.
Uh,
No,
Is this a genre?
it's a
What is
production
this?
company
it's
that picks up like they don't like write their
Ah,
stuff.
okay,
They
okay.
usually they like pick stuff up from like small producers and like fund it for like putting into theaters and stuff and like advertising. And they curate
mhm.
just usually home run selection of a wide range of movies from horror to smaller budget science fiction.
or
Yeah, some
really
weird shit
weird
like
stuff
that.
like like
Um,
Lamb,
and like
which is a horror movie.
they also
Uh,
like have you seen
looks wrong.
Hereditary or like Midsummer?
I have
Yeah, it's
not, but
like
I've heard
those
great
kinds of
things.
movies. Yeah,
Hereditary,
I
I've heard
think
great things
they've
about.
really
Okay.
funded in their early days some like really genre shifting type content, which is great. They obviously have very good taste, and they continue to do a really great job with just thought-provoking pieces that you're not going to see from like a big budget studio. So A24, it's not a genre, but like it is its own. Like when you say A24, there's a vibe. There's like
A
people
vibe?
know what it means. Like it's not just like
Yeah.
you know.
Like seeing a lamb picture, like this is not. If you say
Yeah, it's
A24,
weird as
people are
hell.
like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. That's a lamb man with a gun.
You have to
Spoilers for
lower
the
your
lamb,
guard and
sorry.
be okay for the
God damn it.
unexpected with those movies, but they're usually really good.
Yeah.
Just on the Family Guy thing, though, I think there's a lot of good things. I mean, do you guys watch South Park?
I can't.
So-
Yeah, I like South Park.
I know what they're going for. Like I understand what they're going for.
Yeah.
It's a little too intense for me, I think sometimes. So I can't watch it. I can't binge it.
Fair.
I think. Yeah. Also, like it's a lot more intense than Family Guy in terms of what they try to talk about and how they
is.
go about it.
Their
Yeah.
irony. It's also the recency of it. Like they rate their episodes like within like a week of
Yeah.
current events. South Park.
That's the
Like-
thing that like I can't. The newer seasons, it's just like it's too real right now. Like it's too close to reality. Like I don't know. I can't do it.
My brother started watching it. When he came down to Houston, he threw out a few episodes just 'cause we were just like chilling, whatever. And I'm watching. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this happened like last week. And he's like, yeah, I know. I'm like, what?
Oof.
So I don't watch like South Park like that, but like I was like, I know that they write their episodes like within like 1 or 2 week period, and like
Yeah.
that's just like it's like I see it,
It is.
but there's some things that like you got to let more
Yeah.
time pass before you write it. That's just how I feel personally. But obviously, it's a very successful show. They won whatever the Emmy is, and they were like high on acid. I think as they accepted the word, it's actually pretty bad.
I think my issue is like both. I think
You know.
Family Guy and South Park are written by people with no true moral code, but South Park uniquely is
Mm.
interpreted. I mean,
Seth
Seth MacFarlane
MacFarlane
has its own moral code. Oh,
He's my Lord and
I love
Savior.
one of his work, but it's extremely problematic. But the difference between Family Guy and South Park is
Ted.
that like people truly view South Park as some moral guiding line when it is written by two guys who do not have consistent morals, other than like everyone who is upset deserves to be made fun of. Whereas Family Guy is a little bit more like there's actual like the butt of the joke isn't always a group of people or a concept. Sometimes it's just a well-crafted joke that is funny. And that's kind of my distinction that I draw, because Family Guy can also be extremely problematic, especially the earlier seasons, and the middle seasons and late seasons.
Yes.
a lot of those jokes did not age particularly well.
And
yeah,
all-
it's
all
not
seasons.
it's not a perfect show,
All of the seasons.
but at least something that you can scrape out of there is there's jokes that are constructed, and it's not just beating up on a group of people whether they deserve it or not. Like I don't know, that's just a really low form of comedy to me. Like it just doesn't. It's not like I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Making fun of people's easy. I can do that.
Speaking of low forms of comedy, I need to go
Yeah.
take NMR soon.
I was gonna say we can start if you guys got something to do,
I-
we can wrap this up. But
Yeah,
So-
I'm not trying. I'm not trying to push it aside. I have to.
No,
I
I
I'm
get
a
it.
wife guy,
I don't
so
want to be a dick.
I gotta
maybe
go see the
a
wife. I don't have a wife. She's my girlfriend, but I love her.
hey, there we go. We'd
I'm
love to
so
hear.
jealous.
No, maybe he said I'm jealous. He has a wedding ring on. Like an A.
Well, I'm not. I don't live with my wife.
Oh, okay.
We're separated. Not like that. She just lives in another.
I was gonna
state,
say.
while I'm in
I
grad
was like, what?
school.
I was like,
Yeah.
man. No, but closing comments. I mean, thank you guys for doing this today. I think this is. I had this definitely opened up my eyes to things going on within the graduate student community. I think we need to have more conversations like this for sure.
Mhm.
And hopefully see you guys at conferences. Maybe we'll do this in a month, 2 months from now. Maybe we'll do it again and we'll come back. I think that'd be pretty fun too if we did this like once every few months.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a fun episode. I think to do.
I'm
I
down for it.
was the only one drinking tonight, but maybe these guys they'll
Sorry.
hop in
Yeah.
the next
It's-
time.
I'm
I'm
at
still
work.
on. I'm still on campus, so I
These
was
guys
like,
are-
maybe.
Both of them are still on campus, which is
Yeah.
crazy. If you guys have,
uh,
if you guys need some work ethic, look at these guys. They work 18 hours a day, 6 hours sleep. They're the role
Yeah,
I'm
models. They're
taking
the
this
role models of our
weekend off,
community.
and I'm gonna
no, it
yeah,
hurts.
chill. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good call.
No, but in all seriousness,
yeah.
though, it was a good conversation tonight. Had a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah.
Noah, Kacey, thank you guys for doing this. And if you're
Happy to be
listening,
here.
if you're listening, hopefully you give us a follow.
Thank you.
But thank you for listening to us for an hour and a half. Jesus Christ, just talk about
Yeah.
some shit. But all right,
Giggle.
see you guys.